I still think about Chase every day, but I moved on. I was looking for new vehicles and found my baby girl online. Pretty girl. I love Lex with all my heart. Thank you for all you do for me.
And I'm out of it. Nathaniel, I was rooting for you. Your poor fucking car husband was basically murdered in cold blood, and you're able to get over it that easily? Now you're on to something newer, a younger model? Got Chase in the fucking cut corner of your bedroom, just his sad little hood there watching you as you touch, what's her name, Lex? You're a fucking dog, Nathaniel. That's some cold-blooded shit. Well, guys, what are your thoughts? My big question that I'm left with from this video is honestly, why didn't he just get Chase fixed? Like, I'm not an expert, but from the pictures, it didn't really seem like that crazy of damage. Maybe his insurance just wouldn't pay for it. But I mean, if that's your lover, if that's your husband, I feel like no price is too large, right? In all seriousness though, like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, this is normal, this should be fine. Because no, this is weird. And like telling the internet that you fuck your car, that's never gonna be acceptable, hopefully. But I also don't think it's that crazy of a thing to say that like, this guy is probably not hurting anybody by fucking his car, probably just himself. At the end of the day, not that big of a deal, right? Or maybe I'm just secretly into cars. Who knows? So yeah.
Ghislaine Maxwell has cleared Donald Trump's name while awaiting her pardon. This is new from ABC. Ghislaine Maxwell told DOJ Trump never did anything concerning around her. Now, notably, Trump has been asked whether he's going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. Before, he said he wishes her well.
I just wish her well, frankly.
Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well.
Then he's asked if he's going to pardon her. He says, well, I'm allowed to do it, but I really haven't thought of it.
I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
Now, notably, this is very similar to the way Trump has responded previously when talking about people he would later end up pardoning.
I don't want to talk about pardons for Michael Flynn yet.
You pardon Paul Manafort?
I have not even given it a thought as of this moment.
Roger Stone, are you going to pardon him, sir? He's been convicted of felonies.
Am I going to pardon you? Well, I hadn't thought of it.
Now, obviously, he later did pardon Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, and Paul Manafort, and this has all led many people to wonder if a similar thing is in the works for Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, this all comes after 9 hours of Ghislaine Maxwell privately speaking to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. He's the former defense attorney for Donald Trump, and this was a private meeting. It's notable that there were talks about doing it publicly in front of Congress, but that got shoved aside pretty quick when they realized they could just do this behind closed doors. Now, Todd Blanche said he was thinking about releasing the transcripts. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. But today we got leaks of what may have been said during the 9 hours where Ghislaine Maxwell told Todd Blanche that Trump had never done anything in her presence that would have caused concern. Now, do we believe this? Well, the challenge is that Ghislaine Maxwell has every reason to lie. She, after all, is looking for a pardon. Her lawyer says right now that she would welcome any relief, and relief is exactly what she got after this testimony. Right after the testimony to the DOJ, where she cleared Trump's name, she got transferred to a less restrictive prison called a minimum security prison, with the Washington Post calling it one of the nation's most lenient lockups for nonviolent women offenders. It's notable she had to get a special waiver to even go to this prison because normally sex offenders are not allowed. And this is something I really want to hit home. Previously, I've been talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, and we've been talking sort of like, okay, yeah, she trafficked for Jeffrey Epstein. I think it's worth hitting home that she also participated in some of the acts. She is a sex offender, convicted. And those types of people aren't eligible normally for minimum security prisons. That's why a former warden told the Post, inmates, if they have a offense, are not going to a place like that, period. It's truly unheard of. Quote, it's a country club. Someone gave special preference to Maxwell that, in my knowledge, no other inmate currently serving in the Federal Bureau of Prisons has received. So she is getting special treatment for something. We don't know exactly why. She had to get a special waiver for this, though. This is not something that everyone gets. Contradicting this, though, the president has come out and said, oh, this is actually a very normal thing.
Questions for you. One, did you were you aware of and did you personally approve the prison transfer for Ghislaine Maxwell that your Justice Department?
I didn't know about it at all. No, I read about it just like you did.
And do you believe that she is
It's not a
credible
very
voice?
uncommon thing.
Do you believe that she's credible to be listening to? Your Deputy Attorney General sat down with her recently.
Well, let me tell you, he's a very talented man.
I'll remind you, the guy he's talking about formerly was his defense attorney. And her question, which never really gets answered, which is, can we trust Ghislaine Maxwell, actually is an important one because previously she was charged with perjury. This was in connection with her 2016 deposition. Perjury just means she was lying under oath. Quote, in 2016, while testifying under oath in a civil proceeding, Maxwell repeatedly made false statements, specifically about certain specific acts and events alleged in the indictment. So, can we trust someone who previously our government charged with making false statements when specifically these false statements may benefit her? I don't know, maybe you think she's turned a leaf and she suddenly is Mrs. Honesty, but it's worth saying she's already reaping the rewards of the testimony she's given so far. Our president proceeds to talk about how talking to Ghislaine Maxwell is going to help with the fact that we don't want people getting caught up in this that would have their lives hurt.
Whatever he asked would be totally appropriate, and it's not an uncommon thing to do that. And I think he probably wants to make sure that, people that should not be involved or aren't involved are not hurt by something that would be very, very unfortunate, very unfair to a lot of people.
We don't want people getting involved who might be hurt by this, right? That's why we got to talk to her behind closed doors. We got to give her preferential treatment, right? Because we don't want anyone who might have been otherwise implicated in this falsely to get implicated, right? We want to make sure their names, whoever they are, whatever mysterious person they are, do not get implicated in this. And obviously that goal of Maxwell clearing certain people is being achieved here with her now clearing Trump's name with a possible pardon on the line. Now, I do have to say, it could be the case that he didn't have anything to do with it. She is being honest here. But unfortunately, the waters are muddied when you have such a transparent conflict of interest in this whole story. Personally, I don't want anyone, Ghislaine Maxwell or any of the elites that are involved, to be let off the hook. In fact, just today we had a bombshell report from the New York Times about Jeffrey Epstein's personal residence where he had pictures with famous people. More letters came out with people like Woody Allen, and all of these people should be investigated. Unfortunately, we are living in a time where a select few of these people have so much power over the investigators of it. Maybe instead of giving preferential treatment to sex offenders, we should just release the Epstein files and see where that gets us.
Many of you may have noticed that a huge portion of the World of Warcraft content creator base left World of Warcraft, straight up said, you know what, WoW? I don't love you anymore. You do not help me, or you're not just even fun anymore. So I am going to leave and go in a different direction. And that direction was the good old school RuneScape. Now, old school RuneScape is an old ass MMO just like Classic.
If I were to describe a sociopathic, self-absorbed YouTuber who uses their channel as a makeshift diary to talk about every moment of their life, you might think I was talking about Onision. It's not a bad guess by any means, but for today's video, it's actually wrong, as there is a second individual who also matches this description.
Hi, and welcome to my video. Annoying things that my wife does that irritates me.
This is Daniel Lord. His tendency to publicly share every thought, feeling, and event in his life, no matter how incriminating or embarrassing, has garnered himself infamy as one of the most bizarre people on the entire internet.
At the end of one of my previous videos, I joked about how I broke my tripod leg because I was using it to stimulate my prostate. That wasn't actually a joke, it was 100% true.
On his YouTube channel, Hiding in My Room, he's uploaded over 1,000 videos in which he carelessly overshares every detail of his life, including his many unsavory habits and opinions. With the overwhelming amount of similarities, it's no surprise that this behavior has led many to refer to Daniel as the Asian Onision.
I've noticed some people saying that we're both manipulative. Yes, sometimes I do manipulate people, But then, so do you, and so does your mum. I guess that means we're all Onision.
From countless divorces and public breakups, habitual oversharing, and a plethora of other horrible decisions, this is only scratching the surface of the bizarre world of hiding in my room. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Oh boy, I just got a new package from GamerSupps in the mail. I wonder what's in it. Here we've got Guacamole Gamer Farts 9000, one of my personal favorite flavors. Oh, how could I be so silly as to not expect Dragon Fruit Punch, also one of my favorite flavors. Not to mention Anime Girl Thigh. Really, dude? Oh, would you look at that? A convenient shaker cup for me to put my GamerSupps and my water in so I can drink it. You know, I don't know if you guys have heard. They're saying that GamerSupps increases testosterone, makes you taller, and makes your penis longer. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what GamerSupps is saying, but that's what they're saying, so, you know. Now, they also make snacks now. This one is peanut butter. Who doesn't love a little treat? The instant noodles are crazy good. I love ramen noodles. I think they're really good, and these are awesome. This one is chicken, definitely my favorite. The instant today, right now. Give me money, thank you. Daniel Lord was born on March 20th, 1989 in Maidstone, England. Not much is known about his early life, but we do know that at the age of 10, Daniel switched schools and had a very difficult time adjusting to his new environment, leaving him with very few friends. He hoped that his social issues would iron themselves out, but as he became a teenager and moved on to high school, things only got worse. Daniel quickly became the target of frequent bullying, pushing him into total social isolation and opting to instead spend time alone playing video games. Games provided an escape from the real world where he wouldn't have to confront the harsh realities of his life. Instead, he could sink thousands of hours into a virtual world where he could be the person he always wanted to be in real life. Once he graduated from high school, he had no aspirations to pursue higher education or have a career of any kind. He just wanted to play games all day. His father, understandably upset about this, strongly encouraged him to go to a university or get any kind of job, something that Daniel was adamantly against. He fully intended to live out the rest of his life playing World of Warcraft. According to Daniel himself, the reason he refused to live the normal life that his parents wanted for him was because of the social ostracizing he experienced at an early age. He felt betrayed by society and didn't want to be a part of it. Daniel had become so disillusioned in his earlier life that he was only a few bad turns away from a much darker path. In 2014, Elliot Rodger carried out a violent rampage, killing 6 and injuring 14 others. In a now deleted video titled "The Similarities Between Me and Elliot Rodger," Daniel talks about his recent discovery of Rodger's manifesto, My Twisted World. As he listened through an audiobook version of the document, he was shocked at the large amount of similarities between their stories. They were both half Malaysian and half British, they both had YouTube channels, they both loved World of Warcraft, and even many of their own lived experiences drew many parallels.
After watching a few of his videos, I felt really conflicted, like I felt like I hated him and was disgusted by what he had done, but at the same time, I felt like I could understand all these issues that he was having, and I felt kind of sorry for him, like I pitied him. And then I found out he had written this manifesto, which is basically a 140-page story that he had written of his entire life from childhood until present day. There was an audiobook version. I stayed up all night last night. I listened to 4 hours worth of it. I haven't gotten through to the remaining 6 just because, and I was just amazed at how similar he is to me. His experiences growing up, I felt like I was listening to my own life story being read out by this robotic woman's voice. It was really creepy.
Thankfully, key differences in Daniel's personality prevented him from traveling down the same dark path. He points out distinctions between himself and Rodger, such as his ability to accept rejection, his indifference to society's acceptance of him, and the fact that he didn't carry the same jealousy and envy that plagued Elliot's mind. Regardless, young Daniel remained apathetic and depressed during his early life. He spent his time playing video games, eating junk food, and pursuing one other passion, anime. While searching for images of robots on his computer, he stumbled across the anime Neon Genesis Evangelion and immediately became intrigued. For the next 2 years, he would spend his days and nights binging anime, to the point where he began fantasizing about becoming an anime character himself. Anime was also his first introduction to the Japanese language.
Wow, this language sounds so cool.
How cool would it be if I could speak it?
All of this cultivated a new special interest for Daniel, that being the country of Japan. He began fetishizing Japanese women, started learning how to speak Japanese, and frequenting international dating sites in the hopes of finding that special Japanese lady to one day marry. After a few failed attempts, he was eventually able to get a Japanese girlfriend. It was in Japan that he finally had his first kiss and lost his virginity. He also apparently had an incident of bedwetting while there.
So I sat up and I pulled away the sheets and I looked down, and it was all wet. It was absolutely soaked. My legs were wet, my trousers were wet, my underwear was wet, the whole mattress was soaked. I hadn't wet the bed since I was maybe 10 years old. I looked at my mattress and the mattress was still soaking wet. There wasn't much I could do about it. I couldn't put the whole mattress into the washing machine, it wouldn't fit.
Unfortunately, this relationship didn't exactly pan out. Due to Daniel believing she wasn't as attractive in real life as she had been in her pictures, he ultimately chose to cheat on her with an older Korean woman that he met. He would date this woman for some time as well, but due to their 15-year age gap and her lack of libido, he also ended up dumping her. His third girlfriend was a French girl he met during his second trip to Japan. Originally born in Thailand, the girl was adopted by a French family at a young age and was visiting Japan on a work visa. Daniel decided to abandon her because, in his words, she was overweight and had too many male companions. He then chose to shack up with one of her friends, a Japanese girl who ended up giving him chlamydia. Despite this, Daniel regarded her as his favorite girlfriend, and they even almost got married at one point. The reason the relationship fell through was because the two got into an argument, and he changed his mind last minute. These girls would likely not be important to his story if Daniel didn't frequently reference them in his videos. He will often complain or fondly reminisce about his exes, who he appropriately refers to as my first girlfriend, the South Korean girlfriend, the French girlfriend, and the one who gave me chlamydia, also known as the chlamydia girl, respectively. I think it's also important to point out how Daniel selects his partners. Of course, they need to be some form of Asian woman, but he specifically seeks out women who he believes are low value. This is because he views himself as unattractive and uninteresting, meaning that if he dated a woman more valuable than him, she would likely be stolen from him by a more valuable man. Daniel has a truly poetic way of explaining his philosophy.
For me, having a really beautiful girlfriend would be the equivalent of giving a tiny ant a gigantic pile of sugar. That tiny ant has to protect that massive pile of sugar from all of the other nasty insects and creatures in the wild. Can you imagine how much stress that poor little ant would be under, having to protect his pile of sugar from the other insects? He would have to be on constant lookout to make sure other insects weren't licking his pile of sugar. Do you think I want that stress? I don't want to have that kind of stress in my life. And so if you tried giving me a gigantic pile of sugar, I'd say, no, I don't want your sugar. You can keep your sugar. Why don't you just give me a big steaming pile of shit? Because then at least I would know that all the other insects and creatures of the wild won't be interested in licking my pile of shit.
This is why Daniel chooses women who he finds unattractive, women he finds annoying, overweight, and old. He believes that if he were to try and date someone he actually liked, it would be instantly stolen from him. This seems to be a result of his early life experiences as a social outcast. When society knocked him down, instead of persisting and attempting to become a more likable person, he instead opted to set his expectations as low as possible. He refused to get a job. He refused to go to college. He refused to make friends. This philosophy has simply carried over to his dating life as well. He refuses to date someone he may actually like for fear of losing them. But this is a double-edged sword. In his own words, it's also why Daniel consistently gets sick of the women he dates and either breaks up with them, ghosts them, or cheats on them. This Japanese love quest took place all throughout the early 2010s, as Daniel would fly from England to Japan to Korea and repeat the cycle a handful of times. These trips were essentially flights to find women, in which Daniel explored the streets looking for his future wife. And it was during this period of exploration that he created his YouTube channel, Hiding in My Room. The first publicly available video Daniel uploaded is titled Lonely Guy Animation. This short cartoon depicts the story of a man mourning the loss of his deceased partner who tragically passed away in a shipwreck. This video is a really good example of foreshadowing, as a majority of Daniel's content revolves around him being sad, lonely, and reminiscing about women that he no longer has access to. But what's also notable about this animation is that it's actually pretty well made. This is because Daniel is actually an exceptional artist with a clear talent for drawing. But rather than attempt to capitalize on this, his YouTube channel prefers to focus on unboxing videos, tech reviews, posts about his cat, and all of the content we've talked about with women. Initially, Daniel used YouTube as a way to build confidence and become more comfortable with his voice, something that was a major insecurity at the time, as he had no real dreams of making a career out of posting anything. However, Daniel would eventually open up to the world with more personal vlogs, sharing his thoughts, opinions, and life experiences. While a ton of these videos have since been deleted, the earliest publicly available vlog was posted on September 17, 2016, and is titled, "My Obsession with Japan is Over." In it, Daniel reveals that he had essentially burnt himself out. After spending the last 5 years traveling to and from Japan, the country he once dreamt of had lost its novelty. Most notable from this video was Daniel's first instance of oversharing. Daniel reminisces about his first online girlfriend, Saika, revealing that despite never meeting in person and breaking up nearly 7 years prior, that he still stalks her Facebook page.
Sometimes I look at her Facebook just to look at her pictures. It's kind of creepy, isn't it? Sometimes I really regret that I never got to meet her. I just wish that I had went out to Japan sooner before she met that Czech guy.
Unsolicited admissions such as these are the exact reason why Daniel Lord is one of the most interesting people you can find online. Every single life experience, belief system, or fleeting thought is not relegated to the back of his mind. Rather, they are persistently projected to his YouTube audience. For example, as mentioned earlier, Daniel has a particular affinity for Asian women, but more specifically, he has no interest in women of any other race, and holds a certain level of contempt for white girls in particular. During his time in primary school, a blonde girl in his class frequently teased him and stole his backpack during recess. It's quite obvious that this girl likely had a crush on Daniel and wanted to get his attention. However, her advances only frustrated him, resulting in him breaking her bracelet. In response, she would frequently beat him up until he gave her 20 quid as payment for her damaged property.
I kind of have this, maybe it's a fear of white women. Maybe it's because I got bullied by a white girl. I have like this fear instilled in me that makes me dislike them. It reminds me of the time when I was traumatized by this little blonde-haired girl.
Despite his fear of white women, he seemingly has no fear of essentially anything else. With videos like "I wet myself in Japan," "Why I hated having chlamydia," and "I am lazy and have no motivation." Daniel is either the most stoic Chad on the planet, or he is black-pilled so badly that he doesn't care about anything anymore. Probably the latter, if we're being honest. Regardless, Daniel Lord was a character people began paying attention to. And by March of 2017, he had reached 1,000 subscribers thanks to his personal vlogs and storytime videos. He had developed somewhat of a cult following on certain 4chan boards, with many users appreciating his bluntness and refusal to sugarcoat his feelings or ideas, especially in an age when the internet was becoming increasingly sanitized, with YouTube being filled with goofy vloggers with douchey haircuts and fake personalities designed to get as many views as possible. People who were sick of that saw Daniel as a breath of fresh air. Of course, not all the people who came across Daniel's videos were entirely fond of him. This will only become more apparent as the video goes on, but many perceive Daniel to be immature, misogynistic, and sociopathic, just to name a few. Of course, these same people felt emboldened to disrupt Daniel's life in any way they could as a form of payback. But this was not something he could have likely predicted at the time. Regardless, for the 1,000 subscriber milestone, Daniel conducted a Q&A, answering questions from his audience. Most notable from this video was the detail that Daniel was currently in a relationship.
Would you consider having meetups with your subscribers in London? I don't think so. I don't really feel comfortable meeting random people off the internet unless I know them beforehand. For example, a few days ago when I met George Trombley. Oh, and if you're a cute girl, then I would be interested in meeting you, but right now I have a girlfriend, so I don't think that would be possible.
I'm sure you caught that, but just in case you didn't, Daniel welcomes the idea of meeting up with cute girls, despite already having a girlfriend of his own. This is another way in which Daniel overshares to an uncomfortable degree, frequently making vlogs airing out his grievances with a plethora of different women he forms relationships with, as well as fully displaying his willingness to move on or cheat at a moment's notice. This first girlfriend was revealed back in January of the same year in a video aptly titled "I Got a Girlfriend." In it, he announces that he will be officially going to meet with her in April, but admits to being worried that he won't like her once he gets there. He also reveals that his new girlfriend is 8 years older older than him and has a 9-year-old daughter, something that also concerns him, as he's personally unsure if he can comfortably fulfill the role of a father figure in the young girl's life. However, his girlfriend clearly expected much more, hoping that Daniel would move to Japan and propose to her. But before the two could even meet, Daniel already began voicing his grievances. In the video titled, "I Have Nothing in Common with My Girlfriend," which was originally titled, "My Girlfriend is the most boring person in the world," he, well, complains about how boring she is. But an important detail revealed in this video is that his girlfriend knows almost nothing about his YouTube channel.
And the problem is, I can't show her my channel because of the type of videos I make. I make extremely personal videos about embarrassing stuff that's happened to me, and I make a lot of videos talking about her. I can't show her my channel.
Keeping the channel a secret from his girlfriend was likely why he felt comfortable uploading a video titled "Meeting a Fat Ugly Girl on Tinder." The video is exactly what you'd expect, with Daniel revealing that he had been catfished after meeting up with the girl he met online. Of course, this decision was met with heavy backlash, as he was only days away from flying to Japan to meet his current girlfriend. In the following upload, he attempts to justify himself.
The thing is with relationships is if you don't feel satisfied with your partner, it's very hard to resist the temptation of going to look for someone else who can satisfy those emotional or sexual needs. If I felt 100% satisfied with my girlfriend, then I wouldn't go onto Tinder, I wouldn't look for someone else, I would stay loyal to her. But the problem is, recently, I don't feel emotionally satisfied with her.
Normally, when you're unhappy in a relationship, you don't make plans to fly 5,000 miles to Japan to pursue that relationship. You would simply just end it. But only a week later, Daniel hopped on a flight and set off to meet his Japanese sweetheart. Surprisingly, everything was going well at first. Daniel said he was having a great time, and never mentioned anything about finding her unattractive, which seems like a low bar, but that's really all you can ask of him. He also met her daughter, who he surprisingly got along with quite well. But the trip would eventually come to an end, and Daniel made his way back to the UK, where he had time to process the state of the relationship. And the very first video he posted when he got back was titled, "My Girlfriend's Face is Ugly."
I do feel like I really want to see my girlfriend again. She makes me feel good inside. She makes me feel happy, even though I don't find her face to be extremely attractive.
Despite her supposed ugliness, Daniel spends most of the video talking about all the things they have in common, with them both being soft-spoken and enjoying each other's company in silence. He also points out that her presence gives him a sense of direction and purpose, which he's never really had in his life before. But it wouldn't be long until Daniel started creating problems that didn't need to be there.
It was quite fun. After the phone call, my girlfriend actually told me that her daughter really enjoyed speaking to me again, and that she wanted to speak to me again on the phone. And again, I don't believe that she's lying about this. Maybe she's telling the truth, but still, for some reason I felt like she was over-exaggerating, like she was just saying that to try and make me feel happy.
Daniel believed that his girlfriend was using her daughter to emotionally blackmail him into staying in the relationship. But some commenters had a different opinion. They felt that Daniel actually cares about the well-being of this young girl and doesn't want his presence or absence to negatively affect. affect her life. With the understanding that this young girl genuinely admires him, it's possible that it made him realize that this is a much bigger commitment than the average relationship. No matter how sociopathic Daniel can come off at times, it seems like he still has a heart in certain cases. That being said, he ended up using this situation as an excuse to emotionally distance himself before things got worse.
So I think we need to have a serious talk about my girlfriend. Ever since I've gotten back from Japan, I've been thinking about this pretty much every day, and the thing that I've been thinking about is whether or not I should break up with my girlfriend or not. And the reason why I haven't broken up with her yet is because when I imagine how sad and heartbroken she's going to be when I finally tell her that I want to break up, it crushes me inside, and I can't do it.
Daniel basically decided to completely ghost this woman weeks after spending time with her and her daughter. He blocked her on all of the platforms that he could remember, but forgot to block her from Skype, which she used to confront him.
Why won't you call me? Why won't you reply to me? After I heard that voicemail, I felt really guilty, and I felt like I really should tell her. I should at least tell her properly my feelings instead of just ignoring her like this. Right from the beginning, I kind of realized that we had nothing in common, but I was just so focused on having sex, and that was all I could think about. I kind of let that blind me to all the red flags, and I didn't really care about anything else. I didn't care that we didn't have anything in common. I just wanted to have sex. That was all I was thinking about. But now that I've had sex, I don't really feel like there's anything out of this relationship that I want anymore.
Moments like these are what makes Daniel so peculiar. He is completely self-aware. He is able to fully reflect on his motives for pursuing the relationship, yet he is so blinded by hedonism and lust that he simply doesn't care to change. This is not a one-time occurrence. This is a glimpse into the near future. A future where Daniel will find a new girlfriend, get sick of her, make a YouTube video complaining about her, and repeat the cycle.
I just don't understand why this keeps happening. Why do relationships have to be so difficult? Why is it so hard? How come I can't just have sex with someone and not end up breaking their hearts? It's like this happens every time.
So I want to talk about prostitution, I guess. You know, paying for sex. There have been a few times where I've actually thought about paying for sex. This mostly happened last year.
Daniel might be the only person who could make investing in a prostitute a step in the right direction. Although thankfully, he wouldn't have to go down that road, as he had already managed to find himself a new girlfriend named Tomoko.
For some reason, we started sending each other naked pictures of ourselves. I think I sent her a picture of my penis at first. She wasn't obsessed or repulsed by the image of my penis, so I took that as a good sign that she was interested in me.
With this new sweetheart on his mind, he once again made his way back to Japan. But Daniel would end up waiting weeks before finally meeting up with her, something that maybe should have been a massive red flag. When they did finally meet up, Daniel was visibly more miserable than he usually is, likely because he got catfished. Of course, this didn't stop him from having sex with her.
So I decided to tell her my true feelings. I said to her, I really want to have sex with you, but I don't want to be in a relationship with you. What do you think about that? And she said that's okay, she's fine with it.
What's bizarre about this is his claim that she has a really nice personality. This begs the question, what exactly is his problem? If he happily hooked up with her and found her personality enjoyable, it's hard to fathom why Daniel was so adamant that there was nothing romantic there. Unless the problem is just that he had been catfished, which, in fairness, could be a valid concern. But luckily for him, he had a backup plan. That plan was a list of other girls who weren't his girlfriend that he met on Tinder weeks before flying to Japan.
I've been chatting to Japanese girls on Tinder weeks before I came to Japan, because I kind of had a feeling that the whole Tomoko thing wasn't going to work out based on past experiences, so I decided to make some plan Bs.
After a casual hookup with an American girl and a date with a married woman, Daniel would already announce another new girlfriend named Chihiro. This new girlfriend was perfect in his mind. She was confident, kind, beautiful, active in the gym, and luckily for him, had a high sex drive. However, there was one lingering issue that made him wary of this new girl.
I guess my only complaint about her body would be she's kind of small. She's a very small person, and sometimes it kind of feels like I'm having sex with a 12-year-old girl.
But apparently this wasn't as big of an issue for Daniel as you'd think, as he'd even go as far to say that she was his favorite girl that he met in Japan. Although one detail I've left out is that she technically isn't his girlfriend, and they've only met twice without any actual confirmation of a real relationship. But what could possibly go wrong? Well, a lot apparently. But first, a small bit of drama would spark due to his recent trip to Japan. Daniel's viewers were beginning to get frustrated with him at this point. He had slept with 3 different women since coming to Japan, and even supposedly cheated on Tomoko before even meeting her. That's not including the previous girlfriend he ghosted after meeting her daughter, or the countless other girls he revealed every little detail about. All of this led some to essentially call Daniel a womanizer, accusing him of emotionally manipulating women into having sex with him and then dumping them, which isn't something that I really care about, but that is what the comments were saying. And so as a result, Daniel made a video responding to this criticism, where he predictably defended himself. A notable point he does make in this video is that trolls were plotting to report his channel as revenge. It was around this time that Daniel was beginning to face a heavy amount of demonetization on his videos. This is likely partially due to the YouTube ad boycotts of 2017, as well as the heavy amount of taboo topics discussed in his content. This was also around the same time where he began referring to sex as cereal, which is an important detail, as Daniel will frequently reference having cereal with a woman or craving a bowl of cereal moving forward. However, it seems like any efforts he made to avoid getting demonetized were mostly fruitless, and he even ended up getting a community guideline strike on his channel, likely due to the influx of reports he was receiving at that time. This sent Daniel into a depressive spiral.
My YouTube channel that I've been building, working on for over 2 years. I've been making videos almost every day, grinding away, trying to build it into something that can make me a bit of money, that can help me interact with people. It's my hobby, and now even my YouTube channel is in danger of being banned or failing. And not because I've done something wrong, but because people hate me and they want to see my channel get deleted or terminated.
Things only got worse as the guest house he was staying at received complaints of him filming the other guests without their permission and uploading that to his YouTube channel. In Daniel's defense, this doesn't seem to be something he actually did, and considering he accidentally doxed his location, it's possible this is one of his detractors submitting false reports in the hopes of getting him kicked out. Luckily for Daniel, nothing really came from this. Since he still had his quote-unquote girlfriend to hang out with, things were looking up, until, during a date night at home, the young woman got a Tinder notification for a new match on her phone. Now, it's quite obvious that she has every right to have Tinder on her phone, considering that they weren't a couple. But Daniel saw this notification as proof that she was still actively using Tinder, when of course it could have just been a new match from someone she swiped on weeks ago, potentially before she even met him. Regardless, Daniel interpreted this as her cheating on him, and so he did the only rational thing that any man would do in this situation.
I was talking to this girl on Japan Cupid, and I was telling her about the guest house, how it can be lonely, and just out of the blue she said to me, "Do you want me to come over? We can watch a movie together." I just had cereal with that girl that I was talking about yesterday. It was okay. She was huge. I could tell straight away that she weighed at least, well, she weighed nearly twice as much as I did. She had gigantic legs.
That's right, he cheated on his girlfriend with a woman that he claims is morbidly obese. Well, technically he didn't cheat, but since he constantly refers to her as his girlfriend, it feels appropriate to label this as cheating in his mind. The weirdest part about all of this is that he didn't even break up with her. He continued to visit her and have cereal with her over the coming days. But unfortunately, his one-night stand with the overweight Japanese woman he cheated with would cause some serious issues down the line.
I think there's something wrong with my penis. So a few days ago, I woke up and it was very itchy, and I was scratching, and then I pulled back the skin, and there was a lot of white stuff, like cheesy white stuff. When I scratched around there, it would, more of this white stuff would scrape off, and I could roll it up into like a ball, and it smelled very bad. I actually like the smell, it's just that it smelled very strong.
Daniel managed to get a yeast infection, which likely explains why Chihiro had been feeling under the weather the past few days.
I got a message from my girlfriend today. She said that she wasn't feeling too well.
Daniel's solution to curing his yeast infection initially was rubbing yogurt on his infected member, but unfortunately that didn't work, so he went to the store and bought antifungal foot cream and rubbed it on the region. He said that this was much more effective than the yogurt. However, the cream notably made the area intensely numb. I'm starting to think this guy should be the president. I would vote for him. Despite the fact that Daniel had given her a yeast infection, his girlfriend finally proposed the idea of him moving in with her, which he took her up on. Keep in mind, this woman still has no clue that Daniel cheated on her, nor does she know about the nearly dozen videos he's posted on his YouTube channel about her. But whatever the case, Daniel extended his visa for another 3 months and got settled in with his new sweetie. What should have been an exciting time for Daniel was actually anything but, as he still talked about how boring his life was.
I feel really down and depressed for absolutely no reason. I feel like I'm not interested in doing anything, that everything's boring. I don't get any enjoyment from doing anything. I just sit around watching YouTube for the rest of the day.
This was followed by a video titled, "This is the most annoying thing about my girlfriend," where he spends 10 minutes complaining about his girlfriend not paying attention while they watch Star Wars together. It's almost like he looks for things to complain about. For some reason, only days after making a video complaining about her, Daniel decided it was the perfect time to tell his girlfriend about his YouTube channel.
She kept asking me if I made videos talking about her. She seemed kind of concerned about this, and I said, yeah, I might have mentioned you here and there, but I haven't talked about you in detail. I haven't shown your face or told people your name. I did ask her nicely not to look for my channel. I said, could you not look for it because it's kind of embarrassing and it's a bit personal, but she seems really interested in finding my channel. She seems a bit stubborn about it, and I'm pretty sure she's going to search for my channel. She said that she wants to know what kind of videos I've been uploading, what kind of things I've been saying, and I have no idea if she's actually going to search for it. She might be secretly searching for it right now, for all I know. It's actually pretty easy to find my channel on YouTube. All you have to do is search for Daniel Japanese Girlfriend and my channel should come up and you can see my face. I think it's pretty safe to say that she's going to find my YouTube channel soonish. Fairly soon, and I don't think she's going to respect my wishes of privacy when I ask her not to look for it. Usually if you ask someone not to do something, it makes them want to do the opposite of what you ask them to do. So if you start to notice that some certain videos have started to disappear, then you know why. I need to start cleaning up the channel, I need to start hiding things, I need to do some damage control basically. So when she does find my channel, it's not too bad.
Despite his previous hesitance to stop oversharing details regarding his love life and the privacy of the women he slept with, Daniel surprisingly seems willing to move on from that type of content for the sake of the relationship. While hiding his YouTube channel and potentially deleting videos before his girlfriend sees them is objectively a little bit scummy, it does show that at the very least, he wants this relationship to work, which in a twisted way displays a glimmer of hope for both the relationship and Daniel's own personal growth. After spending a lovely Christmas together, it wasn't long until the possibility of marriage came up.
I asked her, why are you asking me questions about marriage? Do you want to get married to me so I can stay in Japan with you? And she said, if things are still going well between us in a few months, then yeah, getting married could be a possibility. Now that I think about it, I can't really think of any good reasons not to marry her. She's definitely a lot more attractive than all of my previous ex-girlfriends. She doesn't have weird mental issues, she doesn't have annoying habits or traits. She's very laid back and easy to get on with, and I feel comfortable with her. So I can't really think of a good reason to say no if she seriously asks me to marry her. Obviously, she's not perfect. In an ideal world, my girlfriend would be a few years younger, she would have big boobs, she would have a big butt, she would be absolutely filthy in bed, and her hole would smell amazing. But this isn't an ideal world, this is reality.
However, in an act of what I can only assume is self-sabotage, Daniel did exactly what you think he would do. He cheated again. He began speaking to a young woman on the messaging service called Line, where he would send pictures of his genitals and engage in flirtatious conversation. However, it was a trap, and it was later revealed that he was actually speaking to a male troll. Don't worry, Danny. All those videos of you masturbating that ugly little thing, all those chat logs and their corresponding Japanese translations, they're safe. For now. Safe with people who care about the well-being of the unfortunate woman in Japan you are using and abusing. We have located her contact details easily enough, and in exactly 1 week, you can know if she is to receive this explicit information you have bombarded us with. You have 1 week to do the right thing. You know, as well as we do, you are a sleazy loser, Daniel, and not too bright. So break it off with her and let her find someone who cares about her, or blog about it and call our bluff. Consider this public service. The party's over. Daniel seemingly didn't have any interest in negotiating with terrorists, mainly because he believed they were bluffing and didn't have her contact info. He also takes this opportunity to posture himself as the victim in the hopes that when his girlfriend eventually finds out, she will feel bad for him.
I'm easily seduced and easily swayed. If a cute girl suddenly messages me out of the blue and starts flirting with me, I'm going to be very happy about it and I'm going to start flirting back. If she asks for the pics, I'm not going to say no, because the idea of a cute girl seeing my pics is very, very arousing and exciting. Yeah, if things do go bad, then I'm ready to take. I'm prepared to take the punishment. I think I deserve what's coming for me, and from now on, I'm not gonna be so easily tricked. If someone wants my pics, then you're going to have to prove to me that you're actually a girl before I send you the goods.
As much of a weird guy as Daniel is, it's not hard to admire his dedication to saying the worst thing possible at every moment. He even spends a large chunk of the video talking about how sad he is that the girl, June, wasn't actually real. He literally doesn't care about anything at all. But luckily for him, it seems like the trolls were actually bluffing the whole time and were unable to get in contact with his girlfriend. However, it didn't really matter, as she conveniently found the channel herself only a week later after a simple search of his online name. Meaning, she ended up finding out about the catfish anyway. Daniel managed to weasel out of this by claiming that he knew it was a catfish the entire time. As to why he showed the catfish unsavory pictures of himself, it's frankly beyond me, but it seems like his wife never asked for an explanation.
She said that she saw the videos where I talked about my ex-girlfriends, where I called them ugly or boring, and she was worried that I was doing the same thing with her. And the thing is, she isn't my ex-girlfriend yet, so it's not the right time to be making those kinds of videos. And she also said that she saw the video where I said she was the best girlfriend that I've had so far. And she was very happy about that.
Over the coming days, Daniel's girlfriend would come home upset after watching a new batch of videos, in which Daniel obviously said some pretty foul things or confessed to his strange views on the world and relationships. This seemed to cause a bit of a strain on their relationship, with the boiling point coming only 4 days later. Despite the title of the video and the intro framing this as him being kicked out, Daniel clearly states that he left the apartment of his own accord. This is why it's strange that he begins contemplating leaving, sneaking into her apartment, retrieving his belongings, and getting a flight back to England.
I can either run away now and abandon all my stuff, or I could pretend to make things up with her and then sneak out tomorrow, and then at least I can get my stuff and then leave. I don't see how this relationship can work out now. I'm not happy, she's not happy. I can't continue doing what I want to do without upsetting her. It just feels like I don't have many options right now.
He then starts running inventory in his head, trying to figure out what he would lose if he never came back and just got on a plane. It's pretty funny that he's more concerned about his camera and his iPad than he is for the girl he claims is the greatest girlfriend he's ever had, but honestly based, Sigma Grind said. But rather than confronting the situation, Daniel instead chooses to sleep on a park bench in the freezing cold. In his following video, he begins once again talking about his personal belongings, seemingly totally unconcerned with the state of his relationship. But luckily for him, his girlfriend eventually texted, saying that he could come back to live with her under the condition that he stops talking about her online. When he got back to the apartment, one of the first things he did was complain that there were dishes in the sink. And it wasn't long before more conflict ensued. In one video, Daniel admits to breaking into his girlfriend's phone and going through her messages, where he found her talking to an Australian ex-boyfriend.
They were having a conversation about me, and I think this conversation took place sometime last month. And there were several things they were talking about. Number one, the main thing was my YouTube channel. My girlfriend was upset about my YouTube channel and she was telling him about it. The second thing was marriage. She was saying that she wasn't sure if she still wanted to get married to me. The third thing was sex with me. She was saying that the sex with me was getting boring. It was like a routine to her. And the fourth thing, the most shocking thing was this message, which read, "I miss you."
Daniel was obviously upset and confronted her about this, but she claimed that she was simply joking around with him. She then got very upset at him for going through her phone and stormed off to go to work. Of course, the great irony here is that on his YouTube channel, Daniel had been uploading videos where he talked about cheating on her for months. Even more ironic is that in his previous video, titled "My Biggest Regret," he says this.
The one thing that I regret most in life would be deleting the nude photos that my ex-girlfriend sent me and deleting the sex videos that I took with my ex-girlfriends.
The comment section obviously pointed out that Daniel has no right to pearl clutch over infidelity at this point, especially considering the persistent chaos he's plagued his girlfriend with for the past 2 weeks. After a brief interrogation about the ex-boyfriend, the two were finally able to put things behind them and prepare for their marriage.
So I can get married now. I have my certificate of no impediment. Next thing to do is to actually get married.
One of the first things in order was his fiancée informing her parents that Daniel existed, because apparently she had been hiding that detail from them. When his fiancée told her mother that she was marrying an unemployed pervert from England who habitually humiliates himself on the internet, she wasn't entirely pleased about it.
My girlfriend told me that her mum was really upset and angry, and she was 100% against the idea of us getting married. And she also said these really horrible things, like she told my girlfriend to get out of town, and she also said that when she dies she's not going to leave anything for my girlfriend, and she's going to give everything away to her sister. So that kind of just gives you an image of the maturity level of my future mother-in-law.
Of course, she had other criticisms of the marriage, such as the time frame of the relationship and the potential of Daniel using her to get citizenship. All of that resulted in her family arguing with her and eventually falling out with her entirely. This is something Daniel celebrated, because now he would get to spend more time with her. Regardless of her mother's disapproval, on the 15th of March 2018, the two would officially become married. Now, take a moment and guess what could have possibly happened only days after the marriage. If you guessed that they would have another fight and already be facing divorce, you would be 1000% right. Despite the week's worth of time watching Daniel's videos, his family had only just scratched the surface, and further revelations found in videos continued to provoke arguments between the newlywed couple. But one certain comment that Daniel made during a live stream infuriated her to the point of her threatening to divorce him not even 3 weeks after getting married.
We had this big argument, and she said she doesn't know how she can be in a relationship with me if I keep embarrassing her like this on the internet. She said that if I keep doing this, then maybe we should get divorced. We can head down to the city hall the next day and fill out divorce papers, and we can go to immigration and get your visa application cancelled.
Things only got worse as Daniel became increasingly paranoid that his wife was cheating on him. Yet in that same breath, it seemed to be all that Daniel could think about. He frequently thought about his wife sleeping with other men and would ask her details about the aforementioned Australian guy.
I know this sounds really strange, but even though I felt jealous about the Australian guy, the idea of my wife cheating on me, or the idea of the sex being better with the Australian guy, kind of turns me on. Obviously I don't want my wife to cheat on me, that would just make me really upset. But the reason why I kept asking her for detailed explanations of what the sex was like was because, honestly speaking, it gave me an erection.
For the next 2 months, it seems like things actually were calming down. Aside from Daniel introducing his new wife to his audience, he spent most of his time complaining about things that didn't really matter. But it would only be a matter of time before Daniel would once again get caught messaging a different woman online.
And then she said that the reason why she married me in the first place was because she wanted to be in an exclusive, monogamous relationship with me without any other people. She said that's the whole point of getting married, and if I didn't understand that, then things aren't going to work out. So I said to her, honestly speaking, I do want to sleep with other women. I would like to sleep with other women if you gave me permission, but I know that that would upset you, so that's why I don't sleep with other women.
Days later, Daniel managed to get himself kicked out after yet another argument, something that he was shockingly happy about. During their date, Daniel decided to drop the bomb that he had become a verified model on a well-known adult entertainment site. While this claim is technically true, Daniel did it solely as a joke and had no intention of making content on the platform. Regardless, his wife was not happy about this and had a meltdown in the middle of the restaurant. After leaving the establishment, Daniel blamed her for the situation and called her a boring, stupid old woman with no sense of humor. When they got back to their apartment, Daniel packed his bags and left. As you'd expect, Daniel didn't really care in the slightest that the marriage was potentially over. Rather, he was upset that he left during an argument, rather than sneaking off in the middle of the night like a ninja. Daniel asserted that he had no desire to go back to her apartment and opted to once again spend the night on a park bench. However, only 2 days later, he was back once again.
As you can see, I'm back at my wife's apartment. That's because we made up and she forgave me. And I know I said I wasn't going to make a video about this, but I asked her if I could, and she said yes.
Daniel managed to find a smidge of guilt for what had transpired during their fight, and wanted to make things right. As for why his wife forgave him, it was after speaking to his mother online, who suggested that she give him a second chance. Despite her frequent horrible choices in taking him back, Daniel's wife seems to genuinely be a pretty sweet person, something that he is more than willing to accept. While the two were reunited once more, Daniel, without missing a beat, quickly got back to complaining about her online.
And I have to wipe the mirror because it's covered in smudges and finger oil and fingerprints, and it looks disgusting. I don't understand why she doesn't just hold the mirror
by the edges on the plastic bits, which is what I do.
The next transgression came a few days later when he uploaded a video titled, "My Wife Physically Assaulted Me." In it, Daniel tells a story about how his wife supposedly assaulted him after she overheard him telling his livestream chat that he had plans to go to Korea and to meet girls on Tinder.
My wife strangled me several times. Now, the first 2 times I thought she was just joking around, just playing around. But the third time I realized that she wasn't playing around and she was actually serious about wanting to hurt me. She was so angry that she wanted to hurt me. So she strangled me. And I'm very ticklish. My weak spot is my ribs and my neck. And I get very ticklish when someone grabs my neck. And I kind of crunch up like this and I lose all my energy, all my power. And she jumped on top of me and she pushed me to the ground. And she started hammering away at my head, slapping my head. And she did it so hard, so strongly that it knocked the hair clip out of my hair. And it nearly knocked my glasses off of my face. And I didn't do anything, I tried my best to protect myself like this. I couldn't punch her back, I couldn't slap her back because, you know, a man isn't allowed to hit a woman. And I think that's another problem. Because the woman knows that the man is not allowed to hit a woman, it makes her think that it's okay for her to hit a man and nothing bad will happen to her. She won't have to suffer any retaliation.
After spending a few days in a hotel, his wife allowed him to come back home. But it would only be another month and a half before Daniel once again found him out on the street. Daniel had made an unwanted comment about his wife's body on a live stream, which made her feel insecure. But believe it or not, he didn't get kicked out for this. Rather, he willingly snuck out in the dead of night without his wife's knowledge.
I feel kind of fed up with being treated like a child, being scolded, being told off just because I commented on the size of her buttocks. Does it really matter that much? Is that really something to get upset over? I don't think so.
Daniel does explain his reasoning for his pattern of running away every time he gets in an argument with his wife, and it's pretty interesting.
So you might be wondering, why do I keep running away whenever I fight with my wife? Why don't I just stay and say sorry and try and talk things out? And the reason is because it's just easier to run away. When you're fighting with someone, you don't want to be stuck with them. You don't want to see them, you don't really want to talk to them. And it kind of makes sense in my mind to go somewhere else. Usually people will just go into a different room, or maybe they go outside, live in the shed. Unfortunately, we don't have a shed or another room. So the only choice is to go outside or go to a hotel.
However, he typically begins missing his wife after being away for her for too long, and he finds a way to weasel his way back in. At this point in Daniel's journey, it feels pointless and repetitive to keep rehashing the same story 100 different ways, but I think you get the picture. By this point in time, Daniel had spent years documenting his history and perspectives on the internet. It would only be a matter of time before someone with a larger platform took notice and shined a magnifying glass on his little anthill. That person would be Elvis the Alien, a popular commentary channel.
This guy, he's kind of crazy. This guy's YouTube username is Hiding in My Room, and his real name is Daniel. Here's another video that he made called My Girlfriend is the Most Boring Person in the World. You can't make this stuff. It's unbelievable. What is happening with this guy? Why do you feel the need to make videos like this?
This was undeniably the most attention Daniel had ever received on the internet, as Elvis had hundreds of thousands of subscribers at the time of this upload, and the video was racked up over 2 million views. But Daniel wasn't entirely happy about the video, nor its original title, which was The Asian Elysion. That said, he did respect some of Elvis's points.
I know I missed out a lot of points that he made, and that's mainly because I just don't have any argument or anything to say to them, and they were good points, they were valid points, and he hit the nail on the head. And I will continue using YouTube as a personal diary, as a therapy session, because I want to.
Shortly after the Elvis the Alien video, Daniel made his way to England with his wife to celebrate Christmas with his family. Everything went off without a hitch, and the two eventually made their way back to Japan. But then, the unexpected happened.
So, long story short, we're going back to England. Tickets are booked. We're going to the airport today. It's about 5 AM in the morning right now. My dad's really ill. He's really, really sick.
His father came down with a severe case of sepsis as well as multi-organ failure and was placed into a medically induced coma.
I hope he lasts long enough until I get back home. I just want to see him again, even if he's in a coma, even if he's not conscious. I just want to see him. All I want is I just want to see him I just want to see him breathing, just one last time. It just happened so quickly. He was fine a week ago, a few weeks ago. He was There's nothing wrong with him, and he just got the flu.
This is one of the few moments where we see Daniel be actually emotional. Typically, he remains very monotone and calm throughout his videos, no matter what he's talking about. Pure expressions of emotion are pretty rare, so it's interesting to see how this really got him distraught. As a tribute, Daniel even created an illustrated animation telling the story of his father, Robert Lord.
I wish I showed more of an interest in things he was interested in. I wish we could have done more things together. Sometimes I wonder if he feels disappointed that I didn't really follow in his footsteps in any way at all.
Moments like these are reminders that Daniel is a real guy. His behavior and talking points often lead many to believe he's simply a troll. However, the likelihood that Daniel would remain in character and document his father's potential death, just like any other life event, is pretty improbable. Although that's not inherently a good thing, because it also means that many of Daniel's unsavory behaviors and actions are genuine as well. As nice as it is to see a more human side to him, it's equally foreboding to think that none of this is an act at all.
Why is it wrong to make money off of my family's suffering? Okay, so one of the major complaints is that I'm milking my dad's situation. I don't really think that's true. I made a couple of videos about what's going on, and that's just because that's what I do on my channel. I make videos about what's going on in my life, and at the moment, this is what's going on in my life.
But videos like this are a little weirder looking back in hindsight when you consider that a few days later, Daniel's father would pass away.
Didn't think that would be so hard. I thought I could at least say the first bit without breaking down.
Now, Daniel had initially done his best to push back against the idea that he was milking his father's death for views. But only a few days after his dad's funeral, he created a video titled, "Why I Hated My Dad." The video was clickbait and designed to get attention and nothing else. But obviously some found it weird that he was essentially clickbaiting the passing of a family member right after pushing back against people who claimed that he was trying to profit off of the passing of that same family member. And at the same time, other personal struggles began to rear their head. Daniel's wife remained in Japan while he stayed in England for his father's funeral, which gave her ample time to find incriminating evidence in his misdeeds.
We're getting divorced. Yep. I know, no one's surprised. Everyone knew that this was going to happen. But we are getting divorced, and it's mainly because my wife said that she can't trust me anymore after what she saw on the SD card.
The SD card in question contained images and videos of him with other women from before his marriage, as well as a collection of nude photos he was sent by a plethora of different women. As a result, his soon-to-be ex-wife sent him divorce papers in the mail. This issue was exacerbated by a trip Daniel took to London a short time later, where his wife believed he was sleeping with other women. As a result, she threatened to file a lawsuit against Daniel for cheating, which, yes, by the way, you can do this in Japan, as adultery is illegal. Ultimately, this didn't seem to bother Daniel all that much, though, as he began another journey looking for a brand new sweetheart.
You might have heard that I am going to Germany this week, and you might be wondering why. And this is a video where I'm going to try and explain why. I guess it sounds a bit strange, a bit sudden, because I've never shown any interest in going to Germany before, until now. Well, a few weeks ago, I made a video titled, "I'm looking for a girlfriend," and it was a big success because I got quite a lot of messages on Instagram, and after replying to several people, I found one girl who seemed quite nice, and she lives in Germany.
So Daniel got on a train and headed to Germany. Things initially looked up, with Daniel stating that he even found this girl attractive. However, when they went back to his hotel, he didn't get the bowl of cereal he wanted. Instead, she apparently spent the entire time taking a call from her ex-boyfriend. Once it was over, he thought he would finally have some alone time with her to have cereal, but after her phone rang the second time, she excused herself from the hotel room to take the call and just never came back.
I knew she wasn't coming back. I could just feel it. I can just sense that she was not coming back. And I got a message from her saying, she said, "Sorry, but I don't think I can stay the night with you." And she said she's not coming back. She said her ex-boyfriend was guilt-tripping her. And then she also said that she wasn't ready and she wasn't in the mood to do anything. And I didn't even like her, apparently, according to her.
This ruined Daniel's plans for the trip, as she was the entire reason he came to Germany in the first place. However, you might notice that the situation is eerily similar to his encounter with Tomoko. He traveled to a different country to meet with a girl who wouldn't even last one night. And much like his previous trip to Japan, Daniel was able to find a rebound to keep himself entertained while away from home. He met up with a woman who he refers to as the Turkish girl. While he did manage to share a bowl of cereal with her, Daniel still found a way to be upset at her relatively quickly.
You might have noticed that she's been commenting on my comment section, and she was pretty active in the live chat on my live stream. After I ended the live stream, apparently she was saying all kinds of stuff about me, saying that, number one, I ignored her, that I wasn't interested in her, that I made her bleed, and she was crying, and all of this is true. But let me try and explain from my point of view.
Rather than spending time with her in the hotel room, Daniel opted to sit on his laptop and play video games. In a flirtatious attempt to get his attention, this Turkish girl sat on his lap and told him she didn't like being ignored. Daniel simply didn't care about this, and she angrily left to take a shower. While she was gone, he began complaining about her on his public Discord server, which she found out about and obviously wasn't too happy about. While he does concede that he isn't interested in her due to her being unattractive in his view, he says that he would have been at least willing to talk to her if she wasn't so damn boring.
So yeah, I admit it was my fault. I should have told her my honest feelings about her. I should have told her that I didn't feel attracted to her. I should have asked her to leave because there would be nothing romantically happening between us. And maybe I shouldn't have had cereal with her knowing that I didn't feel attracted to her. And maybe I should have done a bit more 5-play before initiating cereal.
The Turkish girl saga was a relatively short-lived moment, and it wasn't long until Daniel began dating a new girl named the Essex girl. It was at this point that he finally began recognizing a pattern in his life, that being his consistent rapid fallouts with every woman he ever crossed paths with. So, to counteract this, he committed to a new strategy moving forward.
I think I'm going to have to take a different approach. If you are looking for a serious relationship with me, then that's great. I'm also looking for a serious relationship. But this time, I think that if I don't feel attracted to you, then I won't try and serial with you. Because apparently girls feel upset and hurt if you sleep with them when you don't feel attracted. I don't know why this is, I don't make the rules.
The date went relatively well, with Daniel stating she wasn't rude like the German girl, or annoying like the Turkish girl. He found her attractive, kind, and easy to talk to. But of course, he still found a way to complain about the date, saying that she only spent 3 hours with him, and that he didn't really feel in love with her.
I'm not really sure how long it's supposed to take to fall in love, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to take any time at all. What if it's supposed to just happen straight away?
This video and vague complaining is likely what caused the two to fall out, leaving Daniel single once again. The date is now May 20th, 2019. A decade prior, Daniel had begun his love quest in search of a true and honest sweetie pie. Now wifeless and unfulfilled from his conquests throughout Japan, Germany, and England, Daniel had officially given up on women.
I bought myself something. I would love to show you, but unfortunately, because of YouTube and how strict it is when it comes to these things, I won't be able to. But I'll do a little unboxing right now. Let's just say that it's probably the next best thing to a real woman, and it's a lot cheaper and affordable. So this is my love doll in the box in the corner.
He closed off the video promising a review in the next upload, and he certainly delivered, with a video titled, "Why My Love Doll is Better Than a Real Woman." He justifies the £250 price tag by listing all the benefits he could think of, noting that the doll doesn't menstruate, doesn't complain, can't transmit STIs, and most importantly, can't say no. However, Daniel would quickly realize that his new sweetheart came with her own set of challenges.
Well, I've been using the love doll for about a week now, and you know in my previous video when I talked about not having to worry about STIs, turns out I was wrong about that.
Due to excessive use and not properly cleaning his doll, Daniel managed to get a urinary tract infection. The reasons he gave for not cleaning his doll were rock solid, stating that he doesn't care about bacteria, prefers his own musk instead of the rubber smell the doll had when it was clean, and simply that he was just too lazy to clean it. He figured there wouldn't be any problems with this because because he's covered in bacteria. So who cares if the doll has it?
Seems I was wrong about that one. Yeah, I was wrong because having some issues with my gentleman's area, the first issue would be getting a lot of cheese built up. Even after having a shower, later on the day, the cheese is there again. It also feels a bit itchy as well, and when I go to the toilet, when I'm doing a number one, I can definitely feel some kind of burning sensation.
Ultimately, this seems like it was for the best, and Daniel's fling with his plastic sweetheart came to an end after his wife reached out to see where they stood. While she doesn't directly offer to get back together, she does seem open to the prospect. But of course, it wouldn't be long before Daniel had some other issues to get off his chest. In the next upload, Daniel reveals that he had discovered his wife on a dating app, and as the title implies, he believes she is cheating on him. This is obviously kind of ridiculous considering that they weren't even together and he had just cheated on her directly. It's also worth noting that in the top right-hand corner, Daniel is clearly signed into an account of his own as well. He even characteristically acknowledges his hypocrisy while still continuing to be upset about the situation.
I guess I could ask her about it, but I don't see the point because number one, she could easily lie and pretend she doesn't know anything about it. Number two, even if she admits that she was the one who made it, then what could I say? It's not like I could criticize her or be angry about it because I'm doing the same thing. I was looking for girls as well, and I'm also on Tinder, and I'm also using this website.
And this is part of what I personally love about Daniel. In one breath, he'll express how upset he is, but in the next, he'll acknowledge he is guilty of the very same thing. It's a very interesting dichotomy, but rather than confronting his wife and attempting to clarify the situation, he uploaded this video to YouTube in the hopes that she might reach out to him and explain what's going on. Unfortunately, the video didn't get his wife's attention, and he ultimately had to talk to her like an adult. How tragic. When speaking to her, he discovered that her presence on the dating website was simply for spying on his profile, meaning that all of Daniel's anxiety over the situation wouldn't even be an issue if he just hadn't had a profile in the first place. However, drawing attention to his wife's dating profile really did nothing but give his trolls a new way to mess with him, as they used the information he carelessly released to dox and harass his wife.
But why don't you just leave it at that? Why make things personal? Why try and get in between me and my wife? Why try and interfere in my own personal life when it has absolutely nothing to do with you? It's none of your business. Just because I post it online, telling people about certain things doesn't mean it makes it your business, doesn't mean it gives you the right or permission to interfere and try and send screenshots and try and persuade my wife to leave me. That's just, what the hell kind of person does that?
Despite all of these hurdles, Daniel made his way to the land of the rising sun once again. And after a pleasant date with his wife in Osaka, he announced that he was officially moving back in with her.
So today I'm moving out of the Airbnb, and I know I booked this place for a whole month and I was supposed to stay here for a month, but it's just so boring here and I don't really like it here that much. And since me and my wife are getting back together, I thought might as well just move in back with her, since her place is a lot nicer, a lot bigger.
This was followed by a live stream titled Why I Forgive Daniel, which featured his wife explaining why she chose to stand by him. Although it's a bit difficult to understand what she's trying to say, as she even admits herself she doesn't speak English very well. However, one thing that is clear is her admittance that she went on a total of 5 dates while Daniel was away. As if this detail wasn't enough to drive him insane, it turns out she even slept with one of these men, despite initially claiming that she hadn't. Of course, this greatly upset Daniel.
I know I've done the same thing by going to Germany, but that doesn't make me feel any better about knowing that my wife had cereal with another guy. Just because I've done something bad in the past doesn't mean that I'm gonna feel good when the same thing happens to me. But I'm still not happy about this. I feel shocked, betrayed, a little bit hurt.
Regardless, he put his pride aside and saw this as a new chance for a new beginning for both of them. But only a month after moving back in with his wife, Daniel revealed something. She was refusing to sign his spouse visa.
She's scared, or she's worried that as soon as I get the spouse visa, I'm gonna disappear and then go to some other Japanese city and then try and hook up with Japanese ladies again. Oh my god, I can't even begin to tell you how ridiculous that is. I can't believe she would even think that I would be willing to do something like that.
Cracks were already beginning to show. However, things would only get worse as Daniel began longing for the love of his silicone sweetheart. He had already learned from his European love quest that casual relations with women didn't satisfy him the same way that marriage did. But at the same time, he believed men are mentally programmed to desire multiple female partners. So Daniel had three options: cheat on his wife, hire a woman, which is also cheating, or get a new love doll.
Because if you think about it, it's not cheating because it's not a real woman. It's far more convenient and it's more cost efficient compared to option 2, depending on how many times you use option 2.
Daniel wanted all the bells and whistles with this new plastic lady friend. Rather than a simple torso, he wanted an entire full body with legs, arms, and a head. Of course, when Daniel proposed this solution to his wife, she wasn't too happy about it. Obviously, the reason she said no wasn't even because it would make her feel insecure or uncomfortable. Rather, she was just concerned that Daniel would eventually abandon her for someone else and leave her alone with an unwashed doll. She doesn't even care if he leaves, she just doesn't want to deal with the burden of carrying that thing to the dumpster. Incredible. Daniel expresses a lot of confusion as to why she would be worried about him leaving her, as if he hadn't done that with every single woman he'd ever been in a relationship with. Of course, he also ideates the prospect of simply buying the doll without telling his wife and stuffing it under the bed, as if she wouldn't find a 5'4" statue of a woman with double D's and Daniel's cup in its ass. That being said, it wouldn't be long before Daniel would once again frustrate his wife, but this time he would manage to piss off her friends as well. His wife had invited Daniel out to spend a day with her friends, probably in an effort to get them to stop hating him after he had, cheated on her multiple times. Of course, Daniel would film the entire day and upload it to YouTube. While the two girls gave him permission to do so, one of them was unhappy with users calling them lesbians in the comments section, as well as feeling unhappy with how she was portrayed. As a result, Daniel changed the title, deleted the rude comments, and edited the video to blur out her friends' faces, a process that greatly annoyed him. And of course, when Daniel gets annoyed, he turns on his camera and starts telling the world all about it.
If people don't want to be in my videos, that's fine, I'll blur them out, I'll cut them out. It just, miffed me off a little bit that they were okay with it at first, and then they changed their mind.
It wasn't surprising that these two girls weren't happy about this new video, and they even threatened to stop being friends with his wife because of it. This all resulted in a huge argument between herself and Daniel, with her eventually being brought to tears. But his wife's crying didn't stop him from booting up a 5-hour live stream to talk about it because, well, this is hiding in my room after all.
So I'm not meeting any more of those stupid friends anymore, because they just complain when I talk about them on YouTube.
Clearly, he and his wife's relationship was just as strained as ever. Her family hated him, her friends hated him, and she kind of barely cared about him either. So what better way to fix the broken bond between them than uploading a video titled, "Why I Hate My Wife." But don't worry, because his wife got an opportunity to make a video of her own titled, "Why I Hate My Husband." Because of her poor English, she opts to record the video in her native language of Japanese, which I've managed to loosely translate for all of you to understand what she's saying. For starters, Daniel has made a lot of videos saying bad things about me, but there's a lot more than that. He doesn't properly do the laundry, he doesn't properly put away food, and if there's a lot of people around in public, he walks ahead and leaves me alone and goes home. I understand that he doesn't like crowded places, but he just quickly leaves me alone and goes home. He's not interested in other people's stories. For a normal couple, they'd probably talk about all sorts of things when they get home, like, how was your day? And I think that's what normal couples or families would do. But with him, that's not the case. When I come home, he says, "Welcome home. Where's dinner?" Even when we're on a plane together and we have free time on the way to England, we don't talk at all. I used to always wonder why he was in such a bad mood, but recently I've gotten used to it. I can understand why his relationships have only lasted about 3 months. The truth is, there are a lot of reasons. I can't stop talking, but I'll stop here. I think when your wife says, "I can't stop talking" after a 10-minute rant about all of your problems, you've probably failed in every facet of that relationship. The day after this video, Daniel uploaded another titled, "Walking Through Heavy Rain in Japan After Having an Argument with My Wife." There's really nothing going on here, as Daniel spends 15 minutes pathetically walking alone in the rain after being kicked out. However, the video would obviously raise questions as to why the argument started. Well, it turns out it was over Daniel's pet goldfish. Daniel bought a pet goldfish in the hopes of turning the process into a video and getting views. However, the video completely flopped, and he didn't make a profit after his $100 investment into the fish. This provoked Daniel to start complaining about how how he had only spent $10 on a fish with his French ex-girlfriend. This statement in particular upset her, and she supposedly kicked him out over the fish. But much like all the other times Daniel was kicked out, he was back home in a few days. Much like the previous arc of their marriage, it becomes a bit redundant to retell every single time that Daniel and his wife argue about something stupid, so let's skip ahead to the most crucial falling out between them. On October 3rd of 2019, Daniel's wife had finally had enough of him going behind her back and messaging random women online, so he was kicked out again. Daniel spent his nights over the next month in random hotels and the majority of his days in various internet cafes. Financially, things became so dire that he even began sleeping in a tent to save money. This saga of Daniel's life is aptly known as the homeless arc. However, revelations would arise during a notable milestone of the hiding in my room story. As mentioned prior, Elvis the Alien's video on Daniel was likely the most attention he had ever received, and after a second video was uploaded, the two began working behind the scenes to facilitate an interview.
You don't like that, do you? Agent Onision, like the nickname?
I don't know. Because everyone hates Onision. If I'm compared to him, everyone's gonna hate me.
This interview is crucial in understanding the inner workings of Daniel's mind, and a lot of valuable information is revealed that initially could only be deduced through assumptions.
Is anything an act as far as what you do on your channel, or is it all genuine?
I guess I exaggerate things a little bit. So if I say I'm really annoyed or irritated by something, I'm probably not that irritated by it.
Okay, so you act up a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
Daniel further claims that essentially everything from this arc was completely fabricated. Not only his homeless status, but apparently entire videos were dedicated to strictly lying about he and his wife's impending divorce. It seems that even Daniel had become sick of the cycle he found himself in, making constant videos announcing his divorce and reunion over and over, and chose to just pretend to be homeless instead.
According to Daniel, he was living by himself from the time he uploaded this video, I ruined my marriage again, to this video, I met a Swedish girl. So from here to here is the only time period when he was living alone in an Airbnb. And that would mean that he was living with his wife when he uploaded My Wife Left Me. He was living with his wife when he uploaded Selling My iPhone 11 to Avoid Homelessness, living in a Japanese internet cafe.
This interview ultimately left Elvis the Alien concerned that Daniel had some form of a mental disorder. Not once does he seem to signal that Daniel is a troll or playing a character. Yet, despite Daniel's many negative qualities, he seems to express the belief that deep down, Daniel is a troubled, yet good-hearted person who doesn't want to hurt people. While it seems that Daniel has never commented directly about the interview itself, he did preemptively confess to faking his homelessness the day before its upload. Despite officially getting a brand new one-year spouse visa, it wasn't long before Daniel was supposedly kicked out by his wife yet again, but this time for good. He then chose to fly to South Korea, met a few girls, got catfished, had cereal with them anyways, complained about it. You get the picture. Ultimately, Daniel would leave South Korea in March of 2020 due to the looming pandemic, and he was quickly able to meet a new girlfriend to spend a lockdown with, a Dutch woman named Mila, who lasted about a month before breaking up with Daniel. According to him, Mila left after she overheard him calling her annoying on a live stream. Where have I heard this story before? After she threatened to leave, Daniel fired up a live stream, wherein she repeatedly comes back to Daniel's room in the hopes that he might apologize or beg for her to stay.
What?
Don't be annoying, just stop it.
I will.
Why can you not be a normal human being and just turn it off and talk? Okay, I slapped you in the face, I'm sorry. Do you want to slap me?
No.
If he showed the slightest bit of concern for her emotions or fear of her absence, this likely wouldn't have resulted in a breakup, which can really only mean one thing, that Daniel meant what he said, and he doesn't really care if she leaves or not. This argument likely paints a similar picture to the frequent falling outs between Daniel and his ex-wife, Chihiro. And much like his marriage, Mila would be pulled back in and then pull herself back out over the coming months. Due to the global pandemic and subsequent travel bans, Daniel's content took a bit of a hit. Unable to meet new girls, to make new videos to meet and complain about, his viewership and income hit an all-time low. In an effort to make some extra cash, he did start an OnlyFans, which was beneficial for multiple reasons. Not only was he making easy money selling pictures of himself, but he now had content to make in regards to his new profession, such as talking about his pictures being leaked.
So something kind of messed up happened recently. Someone signed up to my OnlyFans just so they could steal my photos and then send them to my mum and my relatives and my family. I don't even know how they managed to message my mum because I showed her how to set her Facebook to private, so technically no one should be able to message her, but somehow some people are able to message her and send her messages, and someone sent her pictures from my OnlyFans where I show everything.
Of course, this is not a sustainable business model, and Daniel's content only became more boring as time progressed. He would make vlogs of him traveling to Germany and eventually to the Netherlands to collect with Mila, although they would once again have a falling out. He would then make a weird pivot to analyzing the stock market in his videos, which didn't really resonate with his subscriber base. But then, after another quick fling with a new girlfriend, Daniel began clickbaiting his audience and pretending that he was becoming transgender. It's pretty clear that he was becoming desperate as he spent the next 2 years throwing anything at the wall to see what stuck. That brings us to 2022, where the most notable and recent arc takes place. It began with a new love quest and a trip to Thailand to meet another girl that he met online. This relationship is arguably the most successful and pure connection Daniel has ever had. However, it's only really based on word of mouth, as Daniel has sent videos with his Thai girlfriend to members only. By 2024, this Thai girl was already making the decision to move to the United States without Daniel. Since she was heading off to America, he decided to return to Japan for another visit. This decision to go back to Japan rather than back home with his mother was likely due to his lingering obsession with his ex-wife. Even years after their divorce, Daniel was still posting videos about her and even painting pictures of her. Well, as it turns out, he rented a room in a guest house only a 10-minute walk away from her home. He ended up paying her a visit, waiting outside of her home for 4 hours. After some time, he did eventually see her, but made no attempt at actually engaging. The next day, he booted up his live stream and talked about the situation, which she obviously caught wind of. She was terrified, as she had previously spent years in a toxic cycle with Daniel and was now finally free. Now, he was living down the street and could invade her privacy at any time, and had kind of stalked her the night prior. So she called the police, and Daniel was taken in for questioning.
So I told them the entire story, and then they told me basically I have to stop doing that because what I'm doing is basically stalking.
But nothing really came of the police incident, and ultimately since then, not much has happened for Daniel, as he's become increasingly boring. The most recent development is his relationship with a girl named Sunny. Daniel cheated on his Thai girlfriend with Sunny, and ultimately chose her. This is ironic, as Sunny is likely the most hated girlfriend in the Hiding in My Room universe. She's often referred to as a loggy after she destroyed the plumbing at Daniel's mom's house by clogging the toilet. She has also, for the first time ever, somehow managed to make Daniel look like the mistreated member of a relationship, which is impressive. During a live stream, Sunny decided to break up with Daniel over text. This caused a rare moment of reflection, and an even more rare moment of emotion as he expressed regret for leaving the Thai girl.
I felt so bad. She was so nice. She didn't deserve it. I felt so bad about it.
Of course, Daniel likely only feels bad for it himself, but it's still nice to see him break his unrelenting, monotone demeanor. It's also worth considering that Daniel may have chosen Sunny because she would produce more chaos and ultimately better content for him. Most recently, Daniel has gotten back together with her and moved into a new house with her, something that supposedly is financially destroying him. If you find your way to his channel, he'll likely be live streaming, with his total debt listed in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. For now, this is Daniel's life, until something worse happens and makes it even more terrible. Daniel Lord is easily one of the most peculiar people you'll find online. What makes him stand out from any other internet personality is that he manages to be captivating without being flamboyant or extreme. He is soft-spoken, he rarely gets emotional, and aside from his disregard for other people's feelings, he doesn't appear to be directly evil or malicious. The duality of Daniel Lord is hardly a balance, rather it's an amalgamation of contradicting personality traits that leaves you not just confused, but intrigued. He claims to be a socially awkward and anxious person, yet he's capable of flying to different countries all by himself, building romantic relationships with a multitude of women, and most importantly, sitting in front of his camera and confidently sharing his thoughts, feelings, emotions, and general worldviews to his audience. No topic is off limits, every embarrassing interaction is shared, and all of his transgressions are witnessed in real time by a group of total strangers on the internet. Yet, despite this overwhelming honesty, he also happily lies, such as the status of his relationship with his first wife and his infamous homeless art. Paired together with his blatant clickbait, bizarre editing choices, and the extreme nature of his rants, many have been led to believe that Daniel is entirely a troll. And in fairness, after seeing one or two of his videos, it's not unnatural to come to this conclusion. But as you watch and travel through the years, it becomes much more real. For over half a decade, Daniel has documented nearly every aspect of his life, humiliated himself, and destroyed any future job prospects. And for what? 100,000 subscribers is nothing to scoff at, but a channel of this size only getting a few thousand views per video is not a sustainable business practice, especially at the expense of his own dignity. That's not to mention the countless women that appear on his YouTube journey, who are clearly real people who did form some kind of connection with him. Oftentimes, he says or does things that one might interpret as satire, either through perfectly timed one-liners or flat-out ridiculous behavior, like roasting a single slice of ham over an open fire. But in reality, these moments are likely genuine efforts at comedy that come off as fake due to Daniel's dry personality and awkward delivery. He is not just a troll. That description doesn't fully paint the picture of how he behaves, but he's not 100% authentic either. Daniel Lord is not relegated to either side of the spectrum. Rather, he sits somewhere between completely honest and slightly exaggerated. And it's all because, at a young age, Daniel came to terms with the fact that he was different. He didn't want a real job, and he didn't care what society thought of him. In an effort to build his confidence by mindlessly talking to a camera, a small YouTube audience began to grow around him. Realizing that he got views for his strange comments and stories, he leaned into it by playing up his eccentricities. That being said, those eccentricities are still very, very real, no matter how much he plays it up from time to time. It's impossible for me or anyone to fully explain his mind, and it's likely that to an extent, he doesn't totally get himself either. What is to be understood is that there's no one quite like Daniel Lord, and there might never be. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone. What do you get when you combine incompetence, laziness, a hunger for TikTok fame, and a family straight out of a horror comedy? The answer is Tofiya Chu, a walking train wreck who somehow manages to smell worse than she looks. From stalking online celebrities to constantly butting heads with trolls, her existence is a real-life tragic comedy. And the best part, her 24/7 streams allow anyone to tune in and see the chaos unfold. Our story today starts with Tofiya Slidell, better known as Tofiya Chu, who was born on June 6, 1994, to Marie Lucero and Donald Slidell, allegedly. There's a bit of a dispute over that we'll get into later. Very little is known about her early life, although if one were to judge it by pictures alone, it would have appeared normal. Unfortunately, sometimes reality isn't so peachy. Tofiya had no verifiable social media presence until around 2011, when she made a Facebook account. She was just like any other teenager, and for the next few years, there wasn't much to report on. But things would get slightly more interesting in 2015 when she started posting to Instagram. Much of her early posts were dedicated to her art skills, which honestly weren't the worst, if only she had stuck with it. Starting in late 2016, Tofiya started posting videos on Musical.ly. The first few videos were just showing off her art skills, but this then changed to producing the same garbage that everyone else was making on that app. To her credit, it seemed to be working, as around the end of 2017, she accrued enough of a following to get over 1,000 live viewers on her stream. But as she tried to grow her audience, she already started to develop the first of her many concerning habits. This one being publicly obsessing over online celebrities. Her first ever target was a Musical.ly influencer and singer named Justin Burke. She'd regularly post memes of him to her Instagram trying to get his attention, but it eventually worked, as he started paying attention to her and even did a duet. Finding some minor success, she began trying to diversify over on YouTube. She really flexed her artistic muscles here, creating a Michael Jackson edit where she took the footage from Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal music video and played a different song over it. She then made an anime music video of Robin Williams where she stitched together some clips from his movies. This experiment wasn't particularly well received by anyone, and as a result, she decided to give up YouTube entirely, instead going all in on her Musical.ly career. But just because she was trying to grow as an influencer didn't mean she couldn't engage in her favorite hobby, stalking Justin Burke. She regularly watched his live streams and reposted screenshots from them, talking about how much she loved him and hoped to meet him. This persisted for the next few years, even as Musical.ly went under and merged with TikTok. As far as I know, she never got to meet Justin, but hey, at least she got to stream with him. Following the Musical.ly and TikTok merger, Tofiya was producing stuff on TikTok under the name Tofiya Chu. This was mostly the same content she had posted on Musical.ly, with the addition of things like singing. And boy, does she have some pipes.
I've been up all night, I've been constipated. Went to the bathroom, now I'm so frustrated. Does anybody know where the pizzas are ate?
She continued to grow throughout the latter half of 2018, reaching 10,000 followers by the end of the year. But growing as an influencer takes a lot of time, and you might be wondering how Tofia, who was 24 at this point, had the time to make TikToks and religiously watch all of Justin Burke's content. In mid-2018, Tofia gave us an answer. She uploaded a YouTube video titled My Experience with My First Job, wherein she describes this job experience in detail. A year prior, she apparently had worked at Dunkin' Donuts, although in the video itself, she refrained from saying that it was Dunkin' Donuts for fear of being banned from going there. According to her, she passed the initial tests on how to make coffee with 92%, and she learned how to do everything from making sandwiches, how to sterilize, and how to run things correctly. All of the basic stuff you learn to do at a fast food place. She worked there for 6 months, which she describes as absolute hell on earth. She claimed that the machines they were using never worked properly and were constantly being patchworked together instead of replaced. She also claimed there was preferential treatment for some of the staff, as some employees were allowed to eat on the job while Tofia was not. After 6 months, she was fired, and the reasons she cited were nothing short of prophetic.
So the day I got fired, she had said I had hygiene issues.
She glosses over it here pretty quickly, but the commenters sure didn't miss it. She went into a whole spiel about her day, how the management mistreated her, etc, etc, but this slip of the tongue was the only real takeaway that people had. The video became her most viewed at the time, albeit not for the reasons she had hoped for. Many people had one specific takeaway, that she simply refused to do any real work, and as a result, she hoped beyond hope to become an influencer instead, since that's obviously much easier than doing a regular 9-to-5. Amusingly, she tried to argue with people that she totally wasn't fired for her hygiene, but frankly it was just kind of humiliating for her to even try. To her credit, there was a time when she put some effort into making content. Not good content, but still. She was posting videos on YouTube, including vlogs and even a weird conspiracy theory about people losing followers after the TikTok and Musical.ly merger. On TikTok, she was also growing more popular, and in late 2020, she released one of her most popular videos up until that point, the first installment of the Mob Boss's Daughter series. She continued to release videos, and as time went on, it only became more and more uninspired. Eventually, she figured out that she could make things much easier for herself with this one simple trick: live streaming. In modern day, Tofia has become infamous for her daily live streams. While she was continuing to produce TikToks, it was clear that streaming was her main source of income. Of course, the issue with streaming is that you have much less control over what people see, meaning you record everything that happens to you, no matter what. And as it turns out, there was a lot about Tofia that probably would have been better as a secret. One of the first things people noticed was the things she was saying. She's very unashamed of her use of different derogatory language towards black people, Mexicans, so obviously this was somewhat controversial, but that's not even close to the craziest part.
Call me a like some, excuse me, not slow, because we're talking about two people, you card.
Initially, she did her live streams in her bedroom, where people got a first-hand look at her terrible living conditions. The entire apartment, but especially her bedroom, was crawling with cockroaches, which she showed complete disregard for. She doesn't even flinch when a cockroach climbs up her water cup. Speaking of her cup, she never washes it, despite the fact that it's absolutely rancid, and she can't even stand to take a whiff of it. The same trend follows for her personal hygiene. She apparently smells so bad that her father had to spray her with Febreze. And ironically, despite being very messy, she doesn't quite have the stomach to keep up with this lifestyle, as she's been caught vomiting on stream multiple times. Although she likes to come across as a tough cookie, lobbing slurs like it's a 1950s period drama, she really has the mental fortitude of a wet noodle. She's become legendary for her crash outs, where she breaks down crying for some pretty ridiculous things. Case in point, she started bawling her eyes out because her DoorDash order was misplaced. And because she tends to overshare, she also let her viewers listen to her pee. I'll spare you from listening to that, but I'm sure you can imagine how it went. With all of these things combined, Tophia Chu started to get a lot of negative attention, which supercharged her growth. Today, she stands at a very respectable 380,000 followers. While it may have been partly fueled by people who genuinely like her, 90% of the people tuning in now are either trolls who find her conduct funny or people who genuinely despise her. But Tophia doesn't seem to totally comprehend this. In fact, she's somewhat of an expert at giving the trolls more ammunition. She wasn't quite aware of just how popular she was getting, and she continued to use her Instagram to get baited by thirst traps. In 2020, she had finally moved on from Justin Burke, but that gave way to a whole new obsession: Asian men. This started off being relatively harmless, just making a few posts on Instagram, but this obsession soon bled into her content creation. She began making duet videos with prominent Asian influencers all over TikTok. In particular, she developed a crush on an influencer named Wesley Boba. Wesley used to be a TikToker whose bread and butter was posting thirst traps. Tophia likes to comment on his videos, and because he had the tendency to reply to everyone, he happened to reply to her comments as well. Had he known how far she'd take things, I'm sure he would have chosen differently. This was all the prompting she needed to start doing regular duets. This ranged from the cringe roleplay stuff to literally giving the guy a video resume with reasons why he should date her. The ones she gives are her inability to cook, her fatness, which he could use as a pillow, and the fact that she's 5'3.5", which according to her makes her petite.
Final option for being a really, really good girlfriend is I'm 5'3.5", which makes me fun size. And fun size people move over Snickers, move over fun size chocolate, are the best people to have in your life.
This behavior of constantly pulling at his pant legs went on for a while, and the videos just kept piling up. Eventually, Wesley got so creeped out by everything that he left the internet. At least that's what many believe, but it's not totally known if that's really the case. What is the case is that as soon as he left, it really disappointed Tophia, who took to her live stream to complain about it.